Hello and welcome. Thank you, folks, for joining us today. My name is Amiya. I joined SolarWinds earlier this year as part of the acquisition of my company, Squadcast, which is an incident response tool, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. Over to you, Holger.
Yeah, thank you, Amiya. So my name's Holger. I've been working with SolarWinds tools for about 15 years now. Some of you might already know me as a doctor on THWACK. I've been with Loop One also by an acquisition for almost 5 years now. So excited to talk to you about Squadcast, the newest addition to the SolarWinds portfolio, which we're also keen on learning and also keen on promoting for our existing customers.
Yeah, so I think a lot of teams have a lot of tools, right? There's observability tools, there's ITSM tools, but managing your reliability and essentially recovering faster from outages and incidents continues to be a top priority and continues to be a top challenge, right? So incident response, the way you can think of it is it kind of bridges observability and ITSM. Incident response is something that deals with a live incident, and all of the steps and actions that you need to take, from a best practice standpoint to recover from the incident as fast as possible, right? So while you can think of ITSM as, tickets, approvals, changes, incident response is orchestrating the live response to an incident. It's actually complementary to observability and ITSM and sort of acts like a bridge between those tools to give you a complete set of tooling to manage your technology stack, basically.
So your incident response, it ties into the ITSM, it ties into the observability part. So what we've already done, so we are in the lucky position of being a SolarWinds partner and of having NFR licenses. So we already dug into Squadcast already. A pretty cool thing is what we also had discussions in numerous forums and in numerous audiences that we had, that they have a bunch of tools that are creating alerts, that are creating some form of notifications. This is the dashboard. And what I found pretty cool here is the services. And what is already, and correct me if I'm wrong, so the idea behind it is we do have different teams, and different teams might have different tools that respond or that act as sources of information. And those sources, they can be added here. So what I did is in my nice EMEA region, I added the SolarWinds Observability SaaS already. So, and I'm going to show you how I did it. And if there's anything that you might want to add, just chime in. So just add the service, give it a speaking name. So it will be something where your alerts are coming from. So it could be, and we're going to duplicate that just for the sake of the demo. So I'm going to duplicate SaaS and alerts from SolarWinds Observability. So we do need an escalation policy in case someone doesn't react to any incidents that are coming in. I've created that already in there. So, and now we can tag those alerts or those messages that are coming from this source with different keys or tags that we already have. So I've created region because I want to differentiate between regions. And I created my EMEA region, and I can also do type, and this could be testing because I'm just testing that. So is all the alerts or all the events that are coming in would now be tagged with EMEA and testing, and we can use those tags later. What I found pretty cool is the intelligent alert grouping. So in case something goes really wild and generates a lot of alerts and a lot of notifications, we would be using some form of machine learning, as I read, to group those together into a single incident. So we won't get like notified multiple times. It will just be everything that ties into one centralized incident will be grouped into a single event. That was pretty cool, which I found. And do you have any suggestions on the grouping window? So I think something in the range of 10 to 20 minutes is okay. 5 minutes might be a little too low, where we cannot really differentiate on, is it just one incident? Do you want to like add something to that?
Yeah, so we've usually seen folks do anywhere from 20 minutes, 20 minutes is the most common. It goes up to an hour. Depends on what kind of environment you're running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have alerts that are connected even over a 5 or 6 hour time frame, right? Yeah, but so if you scroll down, you'll see there are multiple options there. But we've seen the most common between 15 minutes to an hour. Usually for cloud-based environments, that seems to be the common choice.
Okay. Yeah. So the very long grouping windows might be for things that I could imagine some storages that are running full, where you do have your first alert, hey, the storage is kind of running full, up to the storage is now full.
Exactly. Something slower, which will probably send you fewer alerts. You might want a larger grouping window because, even if the alerts are few and far between, they may be related because there are fewer alerts from that particular system. One of the suggestions I had is you could possibly change the tag colors as well.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just a small thing.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's useful
But just
to get a
I'm
visual idea.
going to just let it leave like that for now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just for the testing, but that's a good
Sure.
idea to do the coloring. I've seen that
Yeah.
where everything is like in the same color at the moment in our test environment. So
Yeah.
very good hint for that. Okay, so service is created, and now we need to get the alert source. And I was pretty impressed with all these sources that are like natively there, or that I can select natively. There is our like some other monitoring tools that I can imagine here in the German region. There's one that is pretty often. The open source community with Grafana and Prometheus will all be very happy. But for our test, SolarWinds Observability, and that's one of my suggestions that we need to see that more. But hey, it's on a small screen, but it's okay. So here is like a webhook URL, and from my understanding, what I got is the webhook URL. It is for each service that I'm creating. It is a unique URL, so I can differentiate between the different services. And what makes it so easy and so cool is just you have a pretty consistent documentation and how to. So I was going through the integration here with SLO, just scrolling through it and say, okay, I know how this works. So I went to my service here, copied the URL, and I am on my alerting page already in my SLO. I had to create that, how do you call it? Notification services. Here we go. And SLO also integrates into many of those devices. And what I see is here the webhook, and I already created that Squadcast and pasted the URL in there and just did a test. It said successful. And I received also a message, which we can look at later, on email, on my mobile devices, etc. So now here we get the basic functionality, the connection between SLO and Squadcast. And then I was going into my alerts as described in the documentation. Nope, alert settings. Checked my alerts, edited my alerts, went to actions, added my where is it? Webhook. And here's this podcast. So it's really as easy as that. Just hit the next button, save it, and now this alert will be fired to Squadcast, and you can work in Squadcast with that. It's really that easy. So kudos to the to the way of documenting it, to the way of digging into other products where you can have a lot of things integrated.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to see that, we were able to build an integration in just like a few minutes, right? So that's all it takes, and you can test it out and, try various other integrations by yourself. Incident response sits on top of your observability tools, right? So that's the reason we have, hundreds of alert source integrations already built natively out of the box, webhook integrations.
So just tying into the different organizations, so that is even a more tenant-based thing. So you can change between different organizations and within the organization between different teams. So I really like the way of nesting everything together. So when you are a service provider, you might be servicing multiple companies, and within those companies, you might be also servicing multiple teams. So you have that differentiation all over. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the reason we had multiple orgs, so that we can show, we can make it easier for our customers to manage, separation between different things that they handle. So as Holger was showing earlier, at the core, there is the services, and you can name the services however you want. We went with SOSAS, but you can see the names here are like, application infrastructure, or it's basically a set of monitoring tools that tie into a particular service, right? Like SOSAS was the integration that we did just now. But if you look at these services, this service has over 39, there's 39 alert sources here and 16 alert sources. So let's go into one particular service. You'll see all of the alert sources listed out here that have been configured. And it's just a few minutes that it'll take you to add another alert source. So the intention here is that you are able to centralize all the signals from various different tools, whether it be observability tools or your infrastructure, security. We have all of those alerts already, so, you can talk about, sort of cloud alerts or AWS. We have a bunch of those tools. Security, we have tools like CrowdStrike or Rapid7. So you can basically aggregate all of your signals to one particular service, right? And that API webhook that you use would be unique to that service.
And even to chime into that again is if your service is not listed but has a form of API REST call, you can use always the generic API REST integration to that. So there's no specific need for it to be an existing integration that you already built. It could always be some generic form that is just sending webhooks to Squadcast.
That's right. So we've actually tried to make it as easy as possible to aggregate all of the signals from your environment, from your system. And that's one of the goals of, doing better incident response, is that you centralize everything in one place.
So thank you for sharing the multiple ingestion things. I haven't thought of that yet. So in your environment, it makes more sense to gain or to group all the services together and have each respective alerting system for that specific service tie into the services. So from a way of thinking perspective, a service could be a real business process or a real business service in your environment, and you're just feeding any form of data into that service. That's a good way of thinking.
Yeah. So instead of naming your services as, for example, like AWS, SOSAS, instead of naming your services like that, you can name your services as payments or, database or something like that. So that, depending on how you want to visualize the incidents and do incident response. Yeah.
And even then with the aggregation, you just don't look at the different tools that you already have. You just look at the one Squadcast integration and have everything together.
Yep, that's one of the use cases, definitely. And if with the services, right, if you look at the services here, there is an owner and escalation policy. So all of the services have an owner. So if your teams are built that way. Like, you might have a database team or you might have a payments team. You might want to say that, hey, this service is something that your team owns. You are responsible for the incidents and the alerts that come relating to this service. So that's also an easy way to manage like service ownership in Squadcast. We should be able to show that there is an integration. Like in my current demo account that I'm showing here right now. Yeah, so Jira is integrated. So, if you go to a specific incident, then you'll see that, it can be connected to, or a service can be connected to a Jira project, basically. If you go to a service here, yeah, you can just say Jira Cloud project and say, which project does this service connect to. So if there is an incident for this particular service, but the idea is whenever you have incidents for this service, it will connect and raise a ticket on that Jira project, or whichever ITSM tool you have, like ServiceNow or Service Desk. We don't have an integration yet. We will be launching it very soon.
Once we have all those alerts inside, how is the correlation of those alerts working? How do we group everything together into a single incident once we have all that data coming in? How would that represent?
Yeah, so this is definitely the objective of having multiple sort of tools, signals from multiple tools flow into a particular service. And one of the things that Holger, you were showing earlier was intelligent alert grouping. So we can actually toggle this on. This is to reduce noise, basically, where incidents that come in are composed of alerts from multiple different tools, where they are similar tools, and that reduces the noise. Apart from this, there's also other automations that you can set up in the service, like, deduplication, for instance. We spoke about tags. Now, there are default tags for the service, but you can also add other tags, right? And these are tagging rules where you can set a rule, and this rule will basically read the payload of the incoming alert, right? And use that payload to attach, some other tag, right? So, priority P1, severity high. This could be, or I could just say, if there is a certain, like, let's say namespace cube system, then I can say, team Kubernetes, right? So I could add other tags based on these tagging rules, and based on these tagging rules, we can then do things like routing. Like if there's a certain tag, route it to a different escalation policy, right? Like we have a default escalation policy, but you can also route it to a different escalation policy. And duplicates, you can find out duplicates. There was another, so there is an auto duplication thing which you can do using keys. So there's a key-based deduplication and deduplication rules, which again works on the incoming alert payload, right? So using any of the payload information in the data that comes to us via the webhook, using that, you can also define that these alerts are duplicates of one another, right? And suppression, right? So deduplication, suppression, and all of this can be done with tags. Tags add context to the incident, and deduplication, suppression, grouping. These are things that help you cut the noise, basically, focus on what really requires action. We have something called as auto pause transient alerts. This is also a suppression feature where, we have some intelligent algorithms to pause alerts, which are just, temporary spikes, but we know that, it's not going to happen. The alert is going to stop firing after a timeout window, right? Like, let's say, you can say that, hey, if there are certain alerts which we know that the alert is going to resolve itself in 10 minutes, then I can just pause those alerts and, don't alert me if this has closed itself after 10 minutes, right? So
does that also tie into the machine learning part, or is that something where so it takes some time until we learn what is coming in, how are those alerts being handled? Is there on a certain machine a CPU spike that's just going to be there for a couple of seconds, a couple of
Yeah.
minutes. So we do not want to wake up an engineer in the night by a short CPU spike through
Yeah.
their Squadcast app or through an email or through whatever alerting mechanisms we have.
Yeah, exactly. Like for the CPU spike example, hey, if my CPU spikes more than 90%, and if that persists for more than 10 minutes, only then, alert the engineer. And so you're absolutely right. It takes some time for the system to learn that. But that is a feature for reducing the noise. And when you go to the dashboard, like, this is the screen that you'll see, or when you go to the incidents page, you will see only the relevant incidents that are grouped. So maybe I can, let me just filter this. I can show you some of the outcomes of, using all of these features. Let me just put in the right filters here. Yeah, so if you look at an incident like this, for example, you will see this is the incident details view, where you can see that because we had intelligent alert grouping turned on, a group of alerts from different alert sources have all been grouped together under this incident, right? And this is an incident that has already been resolved, as you can see here. But I just wanted to show you that, the alerts have been grouped. There are also duplicates of this alert, which are here. And then there are many other things that you can do to manage how you respond to this incident. But essentially, with this, you get a lot of noise reduction and high signals around what are the incidents that require you to take some action.
No more waking up in the night if it's not important, if it's not urgent. So very, very cool.
Yeah, yeah. But even when you even when you want to wake up the right person, you need to have a system to, like,
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
know,
correct.
yeah,
So it's doing the intelligence for you. You do not have to tweak your alerts to an extension where you would do a lot of like tweaking on your alerts in multiple systems.
once we have these alerts coming through, right? Like, okay, you have reduced the noise, you got the incident, which is like something that you really want to work on. You also want to manage, how your teams are organized for responding to the alerts.
What I found pretty useful, if you navigate to the schedules real quick, where you could just have your overview for the schedules where you have gaps. That was pretty cool. So for us as a 24/7 operational company, there might be the occasion where we do not really see that we do not have someone on call at the moment because someone might be out of office, someone might be doing whatever. So those are pretty cool, the gaps. And also what I found very useful, if we do need to make changes ad hoc real quick, someone reported in just sick, and we would need to put it into different systems, etc. You can just do, an override. So you can say, so he's on leave, he's in another meeting, and then you can assign everything to someone else and just pick the person who's the cover for that other person who's on leave or who's sick or did have other things to attend to. That was pretty neat when I saw that.
One of the reasons that we have schedules is so that, you can have an easy way to make sure you have coverage during the time you want. And like you said, the red spots are gaps in your schedule, so there is nobody on call in that particular schedule. And you might want to have like a business hour schedule. You only want engineers to be alerted if this particular service were to go down during business hours. So that's different kinds of schedules that you might want to have, for alerting your teams. And these schedules are actually part of, escalation policy. So if you remember, each service had an escalation policy, which is like the default escalation policy. So if there is a incident that comes in for the service, it will escalate according to this P3 escalation, right? Like we can see that, okay, this is the P3 escalation policy, we can actually navigate to that. So it just escalates to the SRE team. But if you have other schedules, you can add it in your escalation policy. And in escalations, you can escalate, in different formats like, push notification, email, phone call, SMS. And you can have a team. Like if you look at this high severity escalation, there is an owner of this escalation policy. And there are two schedules that it escalates to: business hours and non-business hours. Because it's a high severity escalation, it needs to escalate either to somebody who's on call during business hours or to non-business hours. And then after 5 minutes, it escalates to a team. And then after 10 minutes, it escalates to a person. So user, team, schedule, these can all be components that you escalate to when you need to inform somebody to take action. And that's basically how you organize that. Who are the teams that are going to come together now that you have signals from a multiple different variety of sources, and you have the signal that you want to work on. The next step is get the people who should be working on this particular thing, right? So that's how you can bring schedules and escalation policies and this kind of system together to make sure that everything is kind of on track and organized to recover from situations as fast as possible. All right. So yeah, we talked about services, alerts, escalation policies. Now there's a ton of things that you can do, to recover from incidents faster. You can take actions on the incident. You can attach runbooks. There is a lot of things around visibility. You can look at past incidents, what happened there, and learn from that to take the action. You can also ask Squadcast to suggest a runbook that could be relevant for this incident. So there are a ton of things that you can do to recover from incidents faster. We have a lot of things like SLO, workflows, which are, very amazing to automate the entire response, where you can say that based on a certain criteria of conditions, you can automatically take, all kinds of actions on an incident. So the idea is generally to aggregate signals from your observability tools and then automate as much as possible and organize as much as possible so that you can recover from these incidents faster and also connect it to your service desk, right? So that's why, incident response kind of acts as that perfect bridge between observability, make your observability data actionable and effective, and also connect it to your service desk. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us today.